The warning lights on the horizon's edge started flashing red without any notice. Kate Morrison looked up from her station, her fingers frozen over the keyboard. She had been checking star maps for the past 3 hours, marking safe routes through the unexplored sector near Kepler 442. Now those maps meant nothing. Something massive just appeared on their sensors. Something that should not be there. Commander Jacob Price stood up from his chair in the center of the bridge. His face showed no fear, but Kate knew him well enough to see the tension in his shoulders. He had commanded ships for 20 years and survived 4 first contact situations. This would be his 5th. "The ship is 3 times our size, Captain," Price said quietly. "And it just cut off our exit route." Kate pulled up the visual feed. The alien vessel looked like a predator from ancient Earth, all sharp angles and dark metal. Weapons ports lined its hull like teeth. She counted at least 40 of them, each one probably strong enough to punch through the horizon's edge shields in a single shot. "Try to hail them," Price ordered. "Standard first contact protocols." Lieutenant Ben Carter activated the communication systems. His hands moved quickly across the controls, sending out greeting messages in 30 different formats. Radio waves, light pulses, mathematical sequences. Everything humanity had learned about making peaceful contact with unknown species. Nothing happened for 10 long seconds. Then the alien ship responded. The main screen flickered and changed. A face appeared, if it could be called a face. The alien had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, skin that looked like cracked stone, and a mouth full of sharp ridges instead of teeth. It wore armor decorated with symbols that Kate did not recognize, but what shocked everyone was when it spoke. The words came through in perfect English. "You have entered Krathul space without permission," the alien said. Its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "I am High Arbiter Vexthal of the Krathul Empire. Your vessel will not move. Your weapons will remain inactive. You will listen." Price straightened his uniform and stepped closer to the screen. "This is Commander Jacob Price of the human exploration vessel Horizon's Edge. We meant no offense. We were not aware this sector was claimed territory. We will leave immediately if you permit us." Vexthal made a sound that might have been laughter. It was not a pleasant sound. "You will not leave." "You cannot leave. You have triggered the ancient laws of our empire, laws that have stood for 2,000 years. Kate felt her stomach drop. Ancient laws rarely meant anything good. The alien continued. "Every species that enters our space must face the war beast trials. It is tradition, it is law. It is how we determine if new species are worthy of joining our empire, or if they will serve as vassals." "What are these trials?" Price asked. Vexthal touched something on his end. The screen split. One side still showed his face. The other side showed recordings. Kate watched in growing horror as the videos played. The recordings showed an arena, a massive space carved from red stone surrounded by thousands of watching aliens. In the center of each recording stood different creatures. Some looked like giant insects. Others resembled earth animals but with strange features. All of them looked strong, dangerous, ready to fight. Then the opponent appeared. The thing they called the war beast. It stood 9 feet tall, covered in natural armor that gleamed like metal. Its arms ended in blade-like appendages. Its legs were thick with muscle. 4 eyes glowed red in its skull. When it moved with terrible grace, like a dancer who specialized in death. Kate watched 47 fights in fast sequence. Each fight ended the same way. The challengers tried to use strength, speed, weapons, tactics. Nothing worked. The war beast defeated them all. Some fights lasted minutes. Most lasted seconds. "These are the previous challengers," Vexthal said. 47 species have faced our champion. 47 species now serve the Krathul Empire. Some serve willingly, having earned respect through their efforts. Others serve because they have no choice, and if we refuse?" Price asked, though Kate could hear in his voice that he already knew the answer. "Then we will hunt down every human colony we can find," Vexthal said simply. "We will destroy your ships, your stations, your worlds. You are not the first species to ask that question. None have chosen that path once they understood we do not make empty threats." The bridge fell silent. Kate looked around at her crewmates. Ben Carter looked pale. Drake Hoffman, their security chief, had his jaw clenched tight. Even Price seemed shaken. "You have 7 days to prepare," Vexthal continued. "Choose your greatest warrior. Bring whatever equipment you wish. The trial will take place on the arena world of Krathvar. We will escort you there. Do not attempt to flee. Our weapons are locked onto your ship. Any hostile action will result in immediate destruction. The screen went dark. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Price turned to face his crew. All senior officers meet in the conference room in 10 minutes. We need to make a decision. The conference room felt too small with everyone packed inside. Drake Hoffman spoke first, as Kate knew he would. Send me. I have combat training. I have experience. I can do this. Drake was not bragging. He stood 6 feet 4 inches tall, all muscle and training. He had served in special forces before joining the Exploration Corps. If humanity needed a warrior, Drake was the obvious choice. But Kate had been studying the recordings that Vexithal showed them. She had watched them 3 times already, taking notes, analyzing patterns, and she had seen something that worried her. Every species sent their strongest fighter, Kate said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Every single one. And they all lost because the war beast is stronger, Drake said. That is why I need to train. I need to be ready. No, Kate shook her head. You are missing the point. The war beast is not just stronger. It is designed to beat strength. The Krathul have been doing this for 2,000 years. They know what to expect. They built their champion to counter every physical advantage. So what are you suggesting? Price asked. Kate took a deep breath. Send me. The room erupted in protest. Drake stood up so fast his chair fell over. Are you insane? That thing will kill you in seconds. Probably, Kate agreed. But it will kill you too. It will kill anyone we send if we try to beat it the same way 47 other species tried. We need to try something different. Like what? Ben Carter asked. I do not know yet, Kate admitted. But I have 7 days to figure it out. 7 days to study every fight, every pattern, every weakness. That is what I am good at. Not fighting, thinking. Price studied her face for a long time. Then he asked the only question that mattered. Do you believe you can win? Kate met his eyes. I do not know if I can win, but I know that doing the same thing as everyone else guarantees we will lose. At least this way we try something new. Price nodded slowly. He remembered a training simulation from 3 years ago. Kate had been given an impossible scenario, one designed so that no one could win. She had won anyway by changing the rules everyone else accepted as fixed. All right, you have 7 days. Use them well. Kate spent the next 7 days living in the ship's computer lab. She watched the 47 fights hundreds of times. She studied the war beast's movements, its techniques, its patterns. She analyzed the arena itself, looking for anything that might help. On the 3rd day, she noticed something important. The war beast never killed its opponents quickly. It could have ended most fights in seconds, but it always drew them out. It seemed to be looking for something in each battle, searching for something it never found. On the 5th day, she requisitioned equipment. Not weapons, though she took a basic plasma pistol. Mostly she asked for tools, climbing gear, surveying equipment, medical supplies. The quartermaster looked at her like she was crazy. On the 6th day, Drake Hoffman found her in the gym. He did not say anything about her choice. Instead, he spent 6 hours teaching her basic combat survival. How to fall without breaking bones. How to avoid direct hits. How to stay alive for an extra few seconds. It might not seem like much, but in a fight, seconds matter. On the 7th day, Kate went to see Nicole Grant, the ship's engineer. She had a special request. She handed Nicole a standard distress beacon and explained exactly how she wanted it modified. Nicole looked confused but did the work without questions. That night, Kate could not sleep. She lay in her bunk, thinking about the war beast, thinking about humanity's future, thinking about the fact that tomorrow, she would either save her species or doom them to slavery. She was not afraid of dying. She had accepted that possibility when she volunteered. What scared her was the idea of failing, of not being smart enough, fast enough, creative enough. Ben Carter's voice came through her comm unit. Kate, you still awake? Yes, for what it's worth, I think you will surprise them. Kate smiled in the darkness. That is the plan. The next morning, the Krathul escort ships guided the horizon's edge to Krathvar. Kate stood in the transport bay, wearing light armor and carrying her equipment pack. The crew gathered to see her off. Price shook her hand. Remember, the goal is not to win by their rules. The goal is to make them question if their rules still make sense. Kate nodded. She stepped into the transport pod. The door sealed behind her. Through the window, she watched the horizon's edge grow smaller as the pod descended toward the arena world below. The transport pod touched down on a platform made of polished black stone. Kate stepped out into air that smelled like metal and dust. The sky above was orange, and two small moons hung visible even in daylight. This was Krathvar, a planet that existed only for these trials. Krathul guards waited for her. They were smaller than the war beast, but still massive compared to humans. Each one carried weapons that hummed with energy. They did not speak to her. They simply gestured for her to follow. They walked through corridors carved from the same black stone as the landing platform. Kate could hear noise in the distance, a sound like ocean waves but made from voices. Thousands of voices. The arena crowd. High Arbiter Vexthal met her in a preparation chamber. He looked even more intimidating in person than on the screen. His armor was decorated with symbols that probably represented his rank and achievements. His four eyes studied Kate with something that might have been amusement. So this is what humanity sends. Vexthal said, not your largest warrior, not your most skilled fighter. A small female who looks like she has never held a weapon before. Kate met his gaze without flinching. Looks can be misleading. Vexthal made that grinding laugh sound again. Perhaps. But I have witnessed 47 trials. I know what happens to clever species who think they can outsmart tradition. They die quickly and without honor. Then you should not be worried, Kate said calmly. The Arbiter tilted his head, studying her more carefully. You are either very brave or very foolish. Perhaps both. Very well. I will explain the rules, though they are simple. The arena is 2 square kilometers. You may position yourself anywhere within it. During the preparation hour, you may bring any equipment you can carry. The trial ends when one combatant is dead or yields. No outside assistance is permitted. The war beast will enter from the north gate. You will enter from the south. Do you understand? I understand, Kate said. Can I ask questions about the rules? Vexthal seemed surprised but gestured for her to continue. Can I modify the terrain during my preparation time? If you have tools to do so, yes. Though I warn you, previous species have tried to dig traps. The war beast is not easily fooled. Are there any restrictions on equipment types? Nothing that requires external power sources. Nothing that calls for orbital support. Nothing that would destroy the arena itself. Beyond that, bring what you wish. If I yield, what happens? Then humanity becomes a vassal state. You personally will be allowed to live, though you will carry the shame of your surrender forever. Kate nodded. She had learned what she needed to know. The rules had flexibility. That flexibility might be her only advantage. Guards brought her equipment for inspection. They opened her pack and examined each item, looking confused by her choices. A plasma pistol with 3 power cells, standard body armor, climbing rope and hooks, a field medical kit, surveying tools including a laser rangefinder and ground sensor, a small drone camera, emergency flares, water and nutrition packs, and the modified distress beacon that Nicole had prepared. One guard picked up the surveying tools and laughed. What is this? Do you plan to map the arena before you die? Kate did not answer. Let them laugh. Let them think she was unprepared or foolish. Their assumptions were another advantage. Everything was cleared. Vexthal led her to the south gate. Beyond the massive metal doors, Kate could hear the crowd growing louder. The Arbiter paused before opening the gate. One more thing, human. Warbeast Korzath has not been defeated in 47 trials. It has fought for nearly a century. Some of our people believe it has become a god of combat. Others think it has grown bored with easy victories. Either way, you will face something that has perfected the art of killing. May your death at least be quick. The gates opened. Sound hit Kate like a physical force. Thousands of aliens filled the arena seats, carved into the mountainside surrounding the combat area. The noise was overwhelming, a mixture of roars, clicks, buzzes, and sounds she had no words for. But Kate forced herself to focus on the arena itself. She had studied recordings, but seeing it in person revealed details the videos missed. The terrain was varied. Rocky areas with large boulders and narrow passages, sections of artificial forest with metal trees and synthetic undergrowth, open ground covered in sand, and in the center, a raised platform of smooth stone. At the far end, the north gate remained closed. Behind it waited the warbeast. Kate did not waste time. She moved immediately toward the rocky section, running despite the weight of her pack. She had 1 hour. 1 hour to prepare for the fight of her life. She found a cluster of large boulders with multiple passages between them. Perfect. She set down her pack and pulled out the surveying tools. The ground sensor showed her what lay beneath the surface. Solid rock, no good for digging, but the boulders themselves had cracks and weak points. Kate worked quickly. She used her climbing gear to reach high points, studying sightlines and escape routes. She placed small markers that would be invisible to someone not looking for them. She identified 3 fallback positions and memorized the fastest routes between them. Then she started setting traps, not the kind that previous challengers used. She had no time or tools for pit traps or deadfalls. Instead, she created confusion. She left false trails using dirt from her boots. She set up her drone camera in one location, but transmitted its feed to her helmet display. She buried 3 of her emergency flares in shallow holes, positioned so she could trigger them remotely with her plasma pistol. The most important preparation was something she did not build. She spent 20 minutes studying the crowd, watching how they reacted where the important figures sat. She spotted Vexthal in a raised platform with other officials. She noticed how the crowd grew quiet when certain beings moved or spoke. The war beast would not just be fighting her, it would be performing for these watchers. That performance aspect was something she could potentially use. Warning horns sounded. The preparation hour was ending. Kate moved to her chosen starting position, a narrow passage between 2 large rocks. She checked her plasma pistol one more time. 3 power cells, 20 shots per cell, 60 shots total, against something that had survived hundreds of battles. The crowd fell silent. The north gate opened. War Beast Korzath emerged into the arena, and Kate felt her breath catch despite all her mental preparation. The videos had not captured the true presence of this creature. 9 feet of armored muscle moved with fluid grace. Its 4 red eyes scanned the arena methodically. The blade-like appendages on its arms caught the orange sunlight, gleaming like polished metal. The crowd erupted into cheers and roars. The war beast raised its arms, acknowledging the adoration. It was more than a fighter. It was a champion, a celebrity, perhaps even a religious figure to these people. Then Korzath lowered its arms and began to move. Not rushing, not charging, just walking with patient confidence toward the rocky area where Kate hid. It had all the time in the world. It always did. Kate forced herself to breathe slowly. Her heart hammered in her chest, but her hands stayed steady. She watched through her helmet display as Korzath approached. The war beast moved with the certainty of a predator that had never known defeat. 50 meters away. 40. 30. Korzath paused. Its head tilted slightly. Kate realized it had found her first false trail, the boot prints she had left leading in 3 different directions from this location. The war beast studied the ground for a long moment. Then it did something Kate did not expect. It laughed. The sound was deep and resonant, nothing like Vexthal's grinding noise. This was genuine amusement. Clever, Korzath said in perfect English. Its voice carried across the arena. Most prey runs or hides. You create illusions. This may actually be interesting. The war beast chose one of the false trails and followed it. Kate used that moment to relocate, moving silently through the narrow passage to her second position. She watched through her drone feed as Korzath tracked the trail to where it ended at a boulder. The war beast examined the dead end, then looked up. Directly at where Kate's drone was hidden, 4 red eyes met the camera lens. You watch me, Korzath said. You study, you plan, good. This is better than the last 3 challengers combined. They simply charged and died. You understand that this is a hunt, not a duel. Kate's finger hovered over the remote trigger for her first trap, but she hesitated. Korzath was expecting traps now. It would be ready. She needed to wait for the right moment. The war beast began moving again, this time choosing a different path. It was tracking her real trail now, Kate realized. Despite her attempts to mask it, Korzath had the experience to separate true signs from false ones. The gap between them was closing. 20 meters, 15, Kate made her decision. She triggered the first flare. The explosion was small but bright. The flash charge Kate had created from her surveying equipment's calibration cells detonated directly in Korzath's path. The burst of light and sound was designed to overwhelm senses. For 3 seconds, the war beast was blind and deaf. Kate moved. She scrambled up onto a high boulder, aimed her plasma pistol and fired, not at the war beast's body where armor was thickest, at its eyes. 3 shots in rapid succession. The first shot went wide. The second hit Korzath's shoulder armor, leaving a black scorch mark. The third shot struck the side of its face just below the upper right eye. The chase was on. Korzath moved through the rocky terrain with terrifying speed, Whatever pain the facial wound caused, it did not slow the war beast down. If anything, it made Korzath faster, more focused. Kate ran through passages she had memorized during her preparation hour. Left at the split boulder, right at the narrow gap, straight through the section where 3 rocks formed a tunnel. She was smaller than Korzath, which meant she could fit through spaces the war beast had to go around. But that advantage only bought her seconds. Korzath simply smashed through obstacles too small to pass through. Kate heard boulders being shoved aside, rock cracking and breaking. The war beast was removing her advantages by force. She reached her second fallback position, a small cave-like space between 3 leaning rocks. She pressed herself against the back wall, breathing hard, and checked her drone feed. Korzath had stopped pursuing directly. Instead, the war beast stood in an open area, breathing heavily, those 4 red eyes scanning in all directions. Kate watched in fascination. The war beast was thinking. She could see it in the way Korzath moved, studying the terrain, analyzing patterns. This was not just a killing machine. This was an intelligent hunter. Then Korzath did something that made Kate's blood run cold. The war beast raised its blade arms and began systematically destroying her hiding places. Not randomly, methodically, starting from the edges of the rocky area and working inward, collapsing passages, smashing boulders, removing options. Kate realized what was happening. Korzath had stopped playing her game. The war beast was creating its own game, one where Kate's advantages disappeared one by one. She needed to move again. But where? Her prepared positions were being destroyed. The synthetic forest offered no real cover against something that could smash through metal trees. The open ground was suicide, and her tricks were running out. Kate looked at her equipment. 1 plasma pistol with 57 shots remaining, her medical kit, climbing gear that was useless now, and the modified distress beacon that Nicole had prepared. The one thing she had not used yet. 3 hours had passed since the trial began. Kate was exhausted. Her legs ached from running. Her hands had cuts from climbing over rough stone, and she was no closer to winning than when she started. Worse, Korzath seemed barely tired. The war beast had been designed for endurance. It could probably keep going for days. Kate had maybe a few more hours before fatigue made her careless. And careless meant dead. She needed a new plan. Fast. Kate reviewed everything she had learned. Korzath was stronger, faster, more durable, more experienced. But the war beast had one weakness she had noticed in the recordings: pride. Not the simple pride of an arrogant bully. Something deeper. Korzath wanted worthy opponents. Every fight in the recording showed the same pattern. The war beast never killed quickly when it could draw out the battle. It was searching for something. What if Kate was wrong about everything? What if the key to winning was not avoiding direct combat, but understanding why Korzath fought at all? A sound made her freeze. Heavy footsteps. Close. Too close. Korzath appeared at the entrance to her hiding spot. The war beast had tracked her while she was lost in thought. For a moment, they simply stared at each other across 3 meters of space. Then Korzath moved. Kate threw herself sideways, but not fast enough. The blade arm caught her left shoulder, slicing through armor and flesh. Pain exploded through her body. She stumbled, firing her plasma pistol blindly as she retreated. 3 shots, maybe 4. None of them hit anything important. She triggered her last flash charge. The burst of light gave her seconds to escape, clutching her bleeding shoulder. Kate ran without thinking, pure survival instinct driving her legs. Behind her, Korzath's roar of frustration shook the arena. Kate reached the edge of the rocky section before her legs gave out. She collapsed behind a destroyed boulder, pressing her back against stone. Blood soaked through her armor. The wound was deep, very deep. With shaking hands, she pulled out her medical kit. The pain was incredible, making it hard to think. She had to treat the wound before she passed out from blood loss. Kate fumbled with the medical spray, coating the gash with synthetic flesh sealant. It burned like fire but stopped the worst of the bleeding. Her helmet comm crackled. Ben Carter's voice came through, tight with worry. Kate. Kate, can you hear me? You need to yield. This is insane. You have done more than anyone expected. Please. Kate wanted to respond, but speaking would give away her position. She stayed silent, focusing on wrapping her shoulder with bandages from the medical kit. Her left arm was nearly useless now. She could barely hold her plasma pistol with both hands. Ben's voice came again. Please, Kate. I know you can hear me. Just say the word. We will get you out of there. Kate closed her eyes. She thought about the 47 species that came before her. All of them sent into vassalage. All of them serving the Krathul Empire because they lost these trials. She thought about humanity's future. About colonies full of people who had no idea their freedom hung on what happened in this arena. She pressed the comm button. Not yet, Ben. I still have one move left. It was a lie. She had no moves left, no tricks, no traps, no clever plans. She was injured, exhausted, and out of ideas, but she refused to give up. Not while she could still think. Kate forced herself to focus. She pulled up her helmet recorder and reviewed the footage of her encounters with Korzath. She watched how the war beast moved, fought, reacted. There had to be something she was missing, some detail that would give her an advantage. Then she saw it. In 3 separate moments, Korzath could have killed her instantly. The first encounter, when she triggered the flash charge. The second time, when she fired at its face. Even just now, when it caught her shoulder. The war beast had opportunities to strike fatal blows but chose not to. Why? Was it mercy? No, that made no sense. Korzath was a champion of combat trials. It existed to fight and kill challengers. Unless Kate had been wrong about everything, unless the point was not the killing, the point was the fight itself. She thought about what Vexthal had said. Some believe it has become a god. Others think it has grown bored with easy victories. Bored, that was the key word. Korzath was bored. 47 trials, all ending the same way. Easy victories against opponents who never understood what the war beast truly wanted. Not a quick kill, a challenge, a worthy fight. Proof that something in the universe could match it. Kate looked at her equipment one more time. The modified distress beacon sat in her pack. Nicole had followed her instructions perfectly. The device could now emit a signal that would trigger the Horizon's Edge emergency systems. The ship's weapons would fire on the arena, destroying everything and everyone, including Kate herself. She had carried that beacon as her final option. If she was going to lose, if humanity was going to become slaves, she would make sure the Krathul paid a price. Even if that price was her own life and a diplomatic incident that might doom her species anyway. But now Kate realized she did not need to use it as a weapon. She needed it as proof. Proof of what? She was not entirely sure. But an idea was forming. A crazy, desperate, probably going to fail idea. The kind of idea that would never work except it was the only idea she had left. Kate stood up. Her legs shook. Her shoulder screamed in pain. She probably had 1, maybe 2 good moves left before her body gave out completely. She walked out into the open ground at the center of the arena. The crowd noise changed immediately. Confusion rippled through the thousands of watchers. What was the human doing? Why was she standing exposed in the most dangerous location? Kate walked to the exact center of the arena, the raised platform of smooth stone. She stood there, visible from every angle, and waited. It did not take long. Korzath emerged from the rocky section, moving cautiously. The war beast had learned to expect tricks, but when it saw Kate standing alone in the open, unarmed and injured, it stopped. For a long moment, neither moved. The arena fell silent. Thousands of aliens held their breath watching this impossible scene. Then Kate did something no challenger had ever done in 2,000 years of trials. She spoke directly to the war beast. Not to threaten, not to beg, to talk. Her voice, amplified through the arena's systems, carried to every corner of the stadium. Korzath, I want to ask you something. When was the last time you were not sure if you would win? The war beast tilted its head. Its 4 red eyes focused entirely on Kate. Kate continued, I watched all 47 of your previous fights. You won every time. You are undefeated, unstoppable. But I noticed something. You were never satisfied. Even when you won, you looked disappointed. Like you were searching for something you never found. Korzath took a step forward. The crowd was completely silent now. Kate pressed on. You have been fighting for a century. 47 species. Hundreds of combats. And not once did any of them make you doubt your victory. Not once did you face real danger. Real uncertainty. That is what you want, is it not? Not another easy kill. A worthy opponent. The war beast moved closer. 10 meters. 5. It could kill her with a single strike now. Kate forced herself not to run. This was her gambit. Everything depended on Korzath's response. So here is what I propose, Kate said. You will win this fight, we both know it. I am injured and exhausted, you are barely scratched, but before you... Kate took a breath. Her shoulder throbbed with pain, but she pushed it aside. This moment was too important to let physical discomfort distract her. Every species that came before me sent their strongest warrior, Kate said. Every single one. Giant soldiers, skilled fighters, creatures bred for combat, and they all lost. Do you know why? Korzath said nothing, but its eyes remained fixed on her. Because they played by your rules. They accepted that this was a test of physical strength. They believed that winning meant being stronger, faster, tougher. But that was never the real test, was it? The real test was whether anyone would question why these trials exist at all. Kate gestured at the arena, at the thousands of watching aliens. Look at them. They come here to watch you kill challengers. They cheer when you win. They worship you like a god. But what do you get from it? Another body on the ground? Another species added to the Empire's collection? Another day of the same empty victory? You speak as if you know my thoughts, Korzath said. Its voice remained calm, but Kate detected something underneath. Curiosity, maybe. Or recognition. I watched your fights, Kate replied. I saw your face after each victory. You were not happy. You were disappointed. Because none of them understood what you really wanted. They thought you were a monster to be defeated. But you were a warrior searching for meaning. And no one gave you any. The war beast took a step back. For the first time since the trial began, Korzath looked uncertain. The crowd sensed it. The noise level rose, confusion spreading through the stadium. I am the war beast, Korzath said, but its voice lacked conviction. I am the champion of the Krathual Empire. I have fought for a century without defeat. Yes. Kate agreed. And you are bored. You are lonely. You are trapped in a role that gives you everything except what you actually want. Respect, not fear. Understanding, not worship. A reason to fight, not just an obligation. High Arbiter, Vexthal's voice boomed across the arena through the speaker systems. Enough of this. War Beast Korzath, finish the trial. Kill the human, or she will corrupt our traditions with her words. Kate saw Korzath tense. The war beast turned its head toward where Vexthal sat in his elevated platform. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then Korzath turned back to Kate. You came here knowing you would die, Korzath said. You accepted this fate to save your species. That is courage. That is honor. That is what I have sought in 47 trials and never found. The others came to survive. You came to sacrifice yourself. There is strength in that choice. More strength than in any physical combat. Kate felt her heart racing. Was it working? Was Korzath actually listening? But, Korzath continued, I am still bound by the laws of this empire. The trial must end with death or surrender. I cannot simply let you go. That would invalidate everything. Then do not let me go, Kate said. End the trial properly. But do it with understanding, not with violence. Show them that a warrior can choose mercy without becoming weak. How? Korzath asked. The laws are clear. Death or surrender. Kate took a gamble. She had been thinking about this moment since she reviewed the trial rules with Vexthal. The laws say the trial ends when one combatant dies or yields. They do not specify who must yield. Silence fell across the arena. Every being present understood what Kate was suggesting. The impossible. The unthinkable. Korzath stood completely still. Kate could not read the expression on that alien face, but she could see the war beast was considering her words. Actually, considering them. You ask me to yield, Korzath said slowly. You, who are injured and exhausted. You, who have no chance of victory in combat. You ask me, the undefeated champion, to surrender. Yes, Kate said simply. And what makes you think I would consider such a thing? Because you are tired of this, Kate said. Because every victory feels empty. Because you want something more than endless combat against opponents who do not understand you. Because for the first time in a century, someone is offering you a choice instead of a fight. Vexthal was screaming now, his voice raw with fury. Guards, enter the arena! Stop this mockery! But the guards did not move. They stood at their posts, eyes fixed on Korzath. The war beast's authority exceeded the arbiter's. If Korzath wanted this conversation to continue, no one would stop it. Kate pressed her advantage. Let me tell you what I think happened. I think 47 species came here and saw you as an obstacle to overcome. They looked at your strength and saw only a threat. But I looked at your fights and saw someone searching for meaning, for connection, for proof that somewhere in this vast empire, there existed someone who understood what it means to be a true warrior. And you believe you are that someone? Korzath asked. There might have been amusement in its voice. Or sadness. Kate could not tell which. No, Kate said honestly. I am not a warrior at all. I am a scholar, a thinker. I solve problems by understanding them, not by fighting them. But that is exactly why I might be what you have been searching for. Because I do not see you as an enemy. I see you as someone trapped by circumstances, just like my species is trapped by these trials. Korzath lowered its blade arms. The gesture was small but significant. In 100 years of combat, the war beast had never lowered its weapons before a trial ended. What do you propose? Korzath asked. Kate felt hope rising in her chest. She had the war beast's full attention now. You can yield. End the trial by choice. Show the Empire that strength includes the wisdom to know when not to fight. And in doing so, you free yourself from this endless cycle. You prove that you are more than just a weapon. You become something greater. And if I refuse? If I kill you? As the laws demand, then you prove I was wrong about you, Kate said quietly. You confirm that you are exactly what the Empire made you. A tool, a killer, nothing more. And you go back to your empty victories, your hollow cheers, your endless disappointment, forever. The arena was so quiet now that Kate could hear the wind blowing across the stone. Thousands of beings held their breath. Up in orbit, the crew of the Horizon's Edge watched their screens in frozen anticipation. Korzath stood before Kate, this massive creature of armor and blade and muscle. 4 red eyes studied the small human, who had somehow turned a combat trial into a philosophical debate, who had survived hours of pursuit not through strength but through cleverness, who now stood bleeding and defiant, offering not a fight, but understanding. Then Korzath spoke. Its voice carried across every corner of the arena. For a century, I have fought. For a century, I have won. And for a century, I have searched for meaning in these victories. 47 species sent their warriors. 47 times I defeated them. And 47 times, I felt nothing but emptiness afterward. The war beast turned to face the crowd, but this human. This small, injured, impossible human. She came here not to fight me, but to understand me. She saw what no one else saw. That the greatest prison is not chains or walls, but purposelessness. That true strength is not in defeating others, but in choosing a better path. Korzath turned back to Kate. You are correct. I am tired. I am lonely. I am trapped. And you offer me something no one else has. A choice. the chance to be more than what I was made to be. The war beast raised its blade arms high. The crowd gasped, thinking the killing blow was coming. But instead, Korzath brought the blades down and drove them into the ground. The stone cracked under the impact. The weapon stayed embedded in the earth. I yield, Korzath said. The arena erupted in chaos, screams, roars, protests, disbelief. Vexthal was shouting orders that no one followed. Guards stood frozen, uncertain what to do. This had never happened. In 2,000 years of trials, the war beast had never surrendered. Kate felt her legs give out. She collapsed to her knees, not from fear, but from relief. It worked. Her crazy, impossible plan actually worked. Korzath moved to stand between Kate and the guards who were finally moving toward them. The war beast's voice cut through the chaos. The trial is complete. The human has won. By the ancient laws of our empire, humanity is free. Any who disagree may challenge me directly. No one moved. No one dared challenge Korzath. But Vexthal was not finished. He stood in his platform, 4 eyes blazing with fury. This is invalid. The trial was corrupted. The human used deception and manipulation instead of honest combat. Kate forced herself to stand. Her shoulders screamed in protest, but she met Vexthal's gaze. I used intelligence, strategy, the ability to see beyond physical violence. If those things are forbidden in your trials, then your laws are more limited than I thought. Before Vexthal could respond, another voice joined the conversation. This voice was old, rough, heavy with authority. The human is correct. An elderly Krathul stepped forward from the crowd. This one moved slowly, supported by advanced technology built into its armor. But everyone recognized it. War Master Thulrax, the creator of the trials themselves, still alive after 2,000 years. Thulrax's voice echoed across the arena. The laws state that the trial ends when one combatant yields or dies. They do not specify who must yield. They do not require violence, they only require resolution. Korzath has yielded. The trial is complete. By our own ancient laws, humanity has won. Vexthal tried to protest. But the spirit of the law, Thulrax interrupted, is to determine if a species is worthy to join our empire as equals rather than vassals. This human proved her worth not through violence but through wisdom. She saw what? The 3 days following the trial were the longest of Kate's life. She spent the first day in a Krathul medical facility, where their technology healed her shoulder wound in hours. The doctors examined her with professional curiosity, as if trying to understand how such a small creature had accomplished the impossible. Korzath visited her on the 2nd day. The war beast had to duck to fit through the doorway, and its presence filled the small room. But Kate was no longer afraid. She had seen behind the armor and weapons to the being underneath. The Empire is arguing about what to do with us, Korzath said. Some want to invalidate the trial. Others want to honor the result. War Master Thulrax supports us, but he is very old. His influence is strong, but not unlimited. What do you want to happen? Kate asked. The war beast sat down, a strange sight that made Kate smile despite the tension. I have been thinking about your words, about choice, about purpose. For a century I have been the war beast. I have known nothing else. Now I am free to choose, and I find I do not know what to choose. Kate understood. Freedom was terrifying when you had never experienced it before. You could travel, learn about other species, see what exists beyond this arena. Korzath's eyes focused on her. I have decided. I wish to go with you, with your ship, your crew, your species. I wish to learn what humanity knows about living with purpose instead of obligation. Kate was surprised but pleased. You are welcome aboard the Horizon's Edge, though you will have to duck through a lot of doorways. We did not design our ships for 9-foot-tall warriors. The war beast made a sound that might have been laughter. I have adapted to worse conditions. On the 3rd day, the Krathul leadership reached their decision. Kate was summoned to a council chamber carved from the same black stone as the rest of Krathvar. She walked alone through corridors filled with guards who now looked at her with respect instead of amusement. The council chamber was massive. Dozens of Krathul officials sat in a circular arrangement. War Master Thulrax occupied the central position, with High Arbiter Vexthal seated to his right. Vexthal's expression showed barely contained fury. Thulrak spoke first. Human Kate Morrison, we have deliberated on the outcome of your trial. The matter is complex and has implications for our entire empire. Kate stood straight despite her nervousness. I understand. Some among us believe the trial should be invalidated, that your tactics were dishonorable, that allowing your victory would undermine 2,000 years of tradition. They argue that we should demand a new trial with different rules that would prevent such manipulation. Kate's heart sank. After everything, were they going to reject the outcome? However, Thulrax continued, others among us, including myself, believe your victory was legitimate. You followed every rule. You brought no forbidden equipment. You used no outside assistance. You simply understood what the trial was actually testing. And in doing so, you revealed something we had forgotten. That wisdom is as valuable as strength, perhaps more so. The old War Master shifted in his seat. After much debate, we have reached a compromise. Humanity will not become vassals to our empire. You have won your freedom according to our ancient laws. However, neither will humanity be granted immediate full autonomy in our territory. That would be too disruptive. What does that mean? Kate asked carefully. It means a new arrangement, one that has never existed before. Humanity will serve as observers and eventually mediators within Krathul space. You will help us transition away from our conquest-based expansion. You will advise us on matters requiring wisdom rather than force. In exchange, humanity receives our protection, access to our technology, and time to grow stronger before encountering other galactic powers who might not be so open to negotiation. Kate considered this. It was not complete freedom, but it was far better than vassalage. And it gave humanity a chance to establish relationships with an established empire. Before facing the galaxy alone, we accept. But I must consult with my commander before finalizing any agreement. Of course, Thulrax said. We would expect nothing less. You will have 3 days to discuss with your people. But know this, Kate Morrison. What you did in that arena changed more than just your species' fate. You challenged us to reconsider everything we believe about strength and power. That is a gift we did not expect and one we do not take lightly. Vexthal finally spoke, his voice tight with controlled anger. And what of the war beast? What of our champion who betrayed centuries of tradition? Korzath stepped forward from where it had been standing at the chamber entrance. Kate had not even noticed the war beast was there. I am no longer your war beast. I am no longer your champion. I choose to travel with the humans. To learn what purpose means beyond violence. You would abandon your people? Vexthal demanded. After everything we gave you? You gave me prison, Korzath replied calmly. This human gave me freedom. The choice is simple. Thulrax raised a hand for silence. Let Korzath go. It has earned the right to choose its own path. We will train new war beasts. 3 of them, in fact. And they will learn from Korzath's example. They will understand that true strength includes knowing when not to fight. The council session ended shortly after. Kate and Korzath walked together through the corridors, heading toward the landing platform where a transport would take them back to the horizon's edge. Thank you, Korzath said quietly, for seeing me when everyone else only saw a weapon. Kate smiled. Thank you for being willing to change. That takes more courage than winning any fight. The Horizon's Edge crew was waiting when the transport docked. Ben Carter hugged Kate so hard she thought her ribs might crack. Commander Price simply shook her hand, but his eyes showed his pride. Drake Hoffman looked at Korzath with professional assessment, then nodded with respect. Welcome aboard. Price said to the war beast, I hope you do not mind tight spaces. Our ship was not built for someone your size. I will adapt. Korzath replied. Over the next few weeks, Korzath did exactly that. The war beast learned to navigate the human-sized corridors by ducking and moving carefully. It attended crew meals, though Krathul dietary needs were very different from human ones. It asked endless questions about human culture, history, philosophy. Ben Carter took particular interest in teaching Korzath about human entertainment. The sight of a 9-foot armored warrior trying to understand comedy shows became a regular occurrence in the recreation room. The war beast had no sense of humor at first, but slowly began to grasp the concept. Kate spent her time composing reports for Earth. She tried to explain what happened in simple terms, but the reality was too strange for simple explanation. She had gone to an arena expecting to die. Instead, she changed an entire empire's direction through conversation. 6 months after the trial, Kate received word that she had been nominated for a major position. Earth's government wanted to establish a Bureau of Xenological Affairs, and Commander Price had been offered the director position. He accepted on the condition that Kate would eventually join as his deputy, but Kate declined. She preferred the frontier, she told Price. She wanted to be where first contact happened, not in an office managing policies. Price understood. He had been an explorer once, too. The Krathul Empire began its slow transformation. Some vassal species petitioned for new trials, hoping to win freedom as humanity had. Others chose to remain vassals, fearing independence. The Empire's leadership split between progressives who wanted change and conservatives who clung to tradition. But change was happening. The trials were reformed. Challengers could now win through diplomacy, innovation, or strategy, not just combat. The 3 new war beasts being trained learned philosophy alongside fighting techniques. They were taught that their role was to test wisdom, not just strength. Kate stood in the observation deck of the horizon's edge one evening, watching stars stream past. They were heading toward a new sector, following up on reports of unusual energy signatures. Another potential first contact situation. Korzath joined her, as had become habit. The war beast had developed a fascination with human stargazing. "We do not know what we will find out there," Korzath said. "No," Kate agreed. "That is what makes it interesting. For my entire life, I knew what tomorrow would bring. Another trial, another victory, another disappointment. Now each day brings uncertainty. This should frighten me. Instead, I feel more alive than I have in decades." Kate smiled. "Welcome to being human. We never know what is coming. That is what makes life worth living." "What do you think we will find at these energy signatures?" Korzath asked. "Could be anything. An old satellite, a natural phenomenon, or another species entirely. We will not know until we get there, and if it is another species, if they are hostile, then we will do what humans do best." Kate said, "We will adapt. We will learn. We will find another way. Because that is our strength. Not weapons or technology, our ability to see possibilities others miss." Korzath was quiet for a moment. "I am glad I chose to come with you. Your species has much to teach mine about what strength really means, and your species has much to teach us about honor and tradition," Kate replied. "Maybe together we can find a balance." The observation deck door opened. Commander Price entered holding a data pad. "We are picking up something on long-range sensors. Looks like a distress signal. Unknown origin." Kate and Korzath exchanged glances. "Another first contact situate.